Let's go, girls. Come on.
From New York City to Los Angeles, Powered Up with Beck and Franklin is giving women of all ages permission to live the life they've always dreamed of. Why live in black and white when you can choose the brilliance of 3D and Technicolor? Each week, Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin and their high-powered guests will be here to cheer you on, to share their challenges, their successes, and what they've learned along the way. It's all about women supporting women. The stories and practical tips on sex, beauty, money, and so much more are designed to help you reconnect to the powerful woman you are. Fabulous knows no limits. Now it's time for you to expand your boundaries. Here are Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin.
Hey ladies, this is Sandra Beck and I'm here with Linda Franklin, and we've got a really interesting show today. Linda, we're going to talk about auric energies. I just learned recently what auras are, and I don't really know that much, to be honest. I always thought auras were something, that only certain people could see. I didn't think that you could, improve or work on seeing people's auras, and I don't know, I think that's kind of neat. It'd be a good skill to have.
Well, this is the way I see it. I don't care about seeing other people's auras. The only thing I would think that's valuable is working on your own so that you project a really good energy.
Well, see, I'm nosy. I'm like, I want to watch my kids' auras. I want to watch my dad's aura. I want to go on a date.
I don't know. Maybe you. Sometimes you don't even need to see an aura. You just you can tell by the energy of a person. Can you? I mean, we talked about this last week, I think. I mean, some people are pretty dense, and you don't want to be with them, and usually it's those people that have a low vibration and a low, probably a very faint aura, or I don't know. It's all interconnected. I mean, I think if you're really in a good place and you got a high vibration and you're feeling great and you're very conscious and things are going, your aura is going to be pretty strong.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's why I'm so excited that Dimitri Moraitis is coming on. He wrote a book called Change Your Aura, Change Your Life, a step-by-step guide to unfolding your spiritual power. You know me, Linda. I'm so into this stuff. I'm like, ooh, I want to tap into the power.
But you see, when you just talked about the book, what did it say? Changing yours. It's not about kind of finding others people's. It's about changing yours.
I know. But
don't be so damn nosy.
I do have trust issues. I'm upfront and honest about my trust issues. So one of the things that really helped me, Linda, is you're in my shows when we did all this stuff about negative energy and, really listening to my head check, heart check, gut check, that I do with my kids now. It's helped me step away from taking in only what I hear. Most of the time, I went on what people said or what people wrote in an email, and I take it for face value. And then you meet these people and you sit next to them, and it's ooh, what I heard or what you're saying doesn't match up with what I'm feeling, and what it says in my my head might say that makes sense, but then my heart and my gut's And then when you gave that term low energy vibration, I went out with some friends this weekend, and one of the gals there who I quite like and quite enjoy had such a low energy vibration. I was oh, I get this. Just sitting next to her is the black hole of friendship. It's just sucking my energy right in there. And it was nice for me to have a term to put at it or a way to think about it, as opposed to just I don't like her.
Well, it's not even a like. I mean, it's just sometimes you have nothing in common. There's no connection, and you say, well, why am I wasting my time here? On Friday night, we went out with my 90. It's her birthday today, 92.
Oh,
I'll tell you
birthday.
one thing. She has the energy of a 35-year-old. Not only is I imagine her aura is so bright, but her attitude is just, every time I'm with her, I'm so delighted to be with her. She's so interesting. She just got back from San Francisco, and she's out all the time, and she's and she does not think about her age. She does not think about, the possibilities. She's of being that old. She's just enjoying every day, and oh my God, it just, I'm so happy when I'm with her. It's just a delight. And if we can find more people that we just say it's so delicious to be with them, what a gift that is. But it's up to us, and we don't have to put ourselves in with people that don't do that for us. And as you get older, I think you realize that more and more. If our time is short on this earth, then why waste it with people that you're not connecting with?
Well, I think, you're right. Yes. But we do change, like I look at all the changes I've been through over like the last 5 years,
Yes, constantly.
And I look at the people that I was very comfortable with 5 years ago, because I was depressed, I was angry, I was hurt, my mom had died, went through a divorce, my 2 dogs had to be put down, just a lot of trauma. So I was really comfortable around people who were very low vibrationally energetic, or whatever the word is, but they were kind of downers, let's just put it that way. Now I find, since I'm so upbeat and positive, I wake up in the morning really joyful and happy, like back to my natural happy self. And probably even better, I realize, I don't have to spend a lot of time with people who bring me down. And even though, there have been longtime friends, it's okay to not spend a lot of time around them just because they're longtime friends, or they helped me a lot through a certain period of time. I've moved on. I've brightened and lightened and, become more energetic and happy, and I want to really be around those people. And I was watching some of the things in Dimitri's book, the Change Your Aura, Change Your Life, about like these energy bubbles and how to refuse an angry outburst. And I want to talk to him, like, can we refuse? Like, can we sit with someone and like not be a sponge and soak up their negative energy?
Yes. Like, my friend Fred, he is I had lunch with him today. That's why I'm in such a good mood. He's such in my book, an enlightened being. And if people are always pouring their stuff on you, you know what he says now? He said, "I'm not a porta potty. I don't want to listen to it."
Right, like I'm not a sponge. That's what I felt this weekend. I'm not
porta
a sponge.
potty. You really get the message across. Don't put your crap somewhere else. Yeah, so why should if you're in that wonderful good space or good aura, why don't want to subject yourself to those that are not, because they want to do one thing. They want to kind of drag you down to their level. So you have to be very, very careful. But rather than be very careful, just choose the people you want to be with. I think it's easier.
Well, I think it is, but it gets very complicated. When you have kids and the kids' friends, and then like my dad and his friends, there's people that we have to deal with, or clients. There's times when I choose my client, but I don't choose his assistant or his marketing person, or I'm just interested in learning how to work with these people better, so that doesn't bring me down.
Yeah, well, I think that you build up a resistance, and if and you just say, well, this is not my friend. This is something I just need to do today, and you won't take on their stuff. And I know it's hard. Especially, sometimes I'm on the phone with a provider, like whether it's Verizon or AT&T or something or anything, and you know how frustrating that is just to get someone to talk to. So the time that they get on the phone, you're ready to bite their heads off, because you're so frustrated with the time it's taken to actually get to speak to a live person. Yeah, I get it.
So different. Like, I like sometimes the pacing, like it forces me to slow down my pacing, and I'm not quick to anger. I'm the opposite. I'll take it, that's why I say like a sponge. Like, I'll take it and take it and take it until it's too much for me. And I think like I need to be a little bit more like you. Like, you can just put those walls down or put those rails up or borders up. I have a hard time with that.
Yeah, no, well, you are who you are. I am who I am. We're all different. I don't take a lot on before I explode. I take it on, and if something's going on that I don't like, then I sort of like vent it out. Not as much as I used to, because I don't get as upset as I used to. But I don't like to store it in, because that's what makes ulcers and all sorts of bad things.
Well, I learned that one the hard way.
Yeah.
I'd like to introduce our guest. I'd like to bring him on early because I have a million questions.
Good.
The book that we're talking about today is Change Your Aura, Change Your Life, a step-by-step guide to unfolding your spiritual power. It's written by Barbara Martin and Dimitri Moraitis. And Dimitri is here with us today to answer questions and talk about this book. Dimitri, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
Well, what did you think? You listened to our opening dialogue. I'm sure you had something to say.
Well, these are two fascinating people.
We are so interesting.
Yeah. Well, you touch on a lot of things right away. Maybe one kind of jumping in point, the idea about other people's energy. We do all have this auric field. It's part of who we are. It's the spiritual essence. Everything we think, feel, and do, our talents, our creative power, our health, our spirituality, all of this is reflected in the aura. It's the driving force. The reason we call it Change Your Aura, Change Your Life is that you need energy to do anything in life. And the place you generate that energy is in your aura. And once it's in your aura, by that law, it will eventually show up in your life. And if it's not in your aura, then you've just got to build up the power till it's there. And that's kind of one of the spiritual laws. Now, we do live in a sea of energy. We are constantly interacting with other, because we're not the only aura in town. There's a lot of auras around us. And as you say, some of them are good and some of them are not so good. But one of the things I can say off the bat, no energy can enter your aura, no other energy, unless somewhere you're permitting it. You have to give, on some level, permission for that energy to step in, and you absolutely do have the right to refuse it, but you do have to exercise that right. The example you gave in the book of anger.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to take us to commercial break. This is a great teaser because we're going to find out when we come back from the break, how we can block this permission for those of us especially who have energy boundary violations up the wazoo like me. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk with Dimitri Moraitis of Change Your Aura, Change Your Life. We're going to answer some of these questions and we're going to learn how we can get along better and protect ourselves in the process. More after the break.
We've got lots more Powered Up with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin after these messages.
Information about book publishing is power. The power to change your authoring life. And the power to change the lives of your readers. So join us for Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. You'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now. As the book shepherd, Dr. Judith Briles is in. And each week, she will include publishing professionals that will reveal tips and secrets to the author's journey. If there is a book in you, you want to listen, learn, and yes, call in with your questions each week. For more on Judith and what she can do for you, check out her website, thebookshepherd.com. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know, but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by Author You and The Book Shepherd, with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.
Have you heard? The pages of American Patchwork and Quilting magazine come to life on our new weekly online radio show, American Patchwork and Quilting. Join Pat Sloan, our blogging and quilt designer host, as she talks about the latest trends, ideas, and inspirations. Her guests include quilt pattern designers, authors, quilt shop owners, and our editors, all quilters, just like you. Call in with your questions. Get quilting tips from industry experts. Learn about free patterns. Hear behind-the-scenes stories from our magazines, American Patchwork and Quilting, Quilt Sampler, and Quilts and More. Get the scoop on free stuff and find out more about the best independent quilt shops in North America. To listen to a live show, tune in Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Just log on to allpeoplequilt.com/radio. To hear past shows, go to iTunes and search for American Patchwork and Quilting Radio. We hope you'll join us because we know that quilting changes everything.
We're back with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin. Here's some more Powered Up with Beck and Franklin.
Hey ladies, this is Sandra Beck and this is Linda Franklin, and we are Powered Up Talk Radio, and we're visiting today with Dimitri Moraitis. He wrote a book called Change Your Aura, Change Your Life with his co-author Barbara Martin, who's not with us today. And before we get into talking about anger and how we can use our own energy or repel energy or not give permission for other energy to come in, Dimitri, I'd like to ask you a little bit about your background. And it says here on the book that you're the director of the Spiritual Arts Institute. What does that do?
Well, that is an organization we founded many years ago to give a home for this work. Barbara had been teaching this work for decades, and we decided it was time to bring a home for it and to offer metaphysics to many people. So actually, we just moved to the North San Diego County. We were in LA for many years. And now we moved to North San Diego. We opened up a new center. Its grand opening is the beginning of June. And we're offering classes online, in person, workshops, consultations, healings, the works. And people can join these classes from all over the world, and they do. And God bless them. Some of them are coming out at 3 o'clock in the morning because that's, the time changes wherever you are. And it's really, as you all well know, this is a time of spiritual opportunity. There are more people waking up to the idea of the spiritual life than ever before. And it's not necessarily connected to a religious system, or it's just something that they're feeling. And it doesn't have a particular center. It seems to be happening everywhere. And it's just part of the age that we live in now. And what we tell people, that's not an accident. Your awakening is part of a bigger process. It's the divine calling on you, and it's sort of up to you to answer that call.
And Dimitri, don't you think that it is part of what's going on in the world right now? There's so much uncertainty and so much upheaval and so much fright and so much fear that people are, and there doesn't seem to be answers coming from the outside, so we sort of have to take solace in ourselves and be peaceful and get what we can from what's inside of us.
Absolutely. And also, remember, it is a time of change. So a lot of the pillars that we used to rely on, shall we say, maybe are not as durable as we thought they were, but other ones will emerge. We are actually, Barbara used to call this age, from the inspiration of the higher, the tail end of the scorpion. We're at the end of, let's say, a cycle of humanity and at the beginning of another. And yes, where's the venom at the tail of the scorpion, but it's also showing it's the end of things. So one of the things the higher says is, even though, yes, there are a lot of dramas, and there's actually a good coming. We're actually on the verge of a new good age there. And not to get too absorbed, like the 91st Psalm says, 1,000 may fall at thy side and 10,000 at your right hand, but it won't come to you. Meaning just stay true to yourself, like you're saying, true to your own divinity, and the world will change accordingly. And to take sort of that optimistic approach, it's important because that's what facilitates the change. Bill Gates was talking about in one of his, he does so much work for helping people around the world. He says one of the biggest challenges is the doomsdayers that say, oh, what's the worth of giving? It's not going to help. It's not going to change anything. It causes you not to take action because you think, what's the point? Or it won't be successful, or it won't be. And that's what's hurting. We have to say, no, we have to give this. We have to help. We have to reach out. We have to do what we can from where we are, and that will be our part in the bigger picture. As Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. And then that will help change the world.
Yeah, and that's what we have to do. And if more people can realize how powerful they are, and one person at a time can change the whole planet. And our guest before, we've talked about going into the Aquarian age, and it's a whole a whole new beginning. You're saying, well, you said like the tail end of the scorpion. It's the end of something, but it's also the beginning of something else.
Exactly. And that's what we have to go on. Even though we may see some ugly things happen in the world, don't see the world as ugly. It's just going through a change. It's like, if there's a a pus or something on your skin. You have to lance it, the pus comes out, and then you heal it. So we're in kind of that exhuming stage. Things are being released that maybe some have been there for quite some time, but it's changing. I mean, even what you see in the Middle East, you see some horrifying things happen in some of these countries, but it's also the fact that so much world attention is on it means that, the days of this kind of activity are numbered. And eventually this is like, again, it's sort of a purging period. And we have to stay strong through this time because there are good days ahead. And there are, we all have a purpose in this life, and we have to not let the challenges of the life scare us from doing the things that we know we need to do. It's a school. Metaphysics teaches that our time on earth is like being in school. Yeah. It's only a certain period of time we're here, and we're only accountable for what we do. We have to stop measuring the success of our life by what's happening to us and what we have. We have to start measuring it more by how we deal what's happening in our life. So, okay, life threw you a curveball. How do you deal with that? That's showing how well you progress. And, we all make mistakes in this area, but we have to get back on our feet again. That's what a fighter does. It gets knocked down, it gets back up again, and that's what we have to do. That's what we have to do.
Dimitri, I just want to ask you one more question. I'm going to let Sandra jump in. I get really caught up in here. I could talk to you for hours. Something that I'm going through now is like, no matter, what's going on, there's always some good things and there's always some not so good things, and hopefully there's more good things. But I'm looking at life now as everything that's happening, whether it's good or not so good, it's something that I determined what would happen. So how could I not embrace everything, the good and the bad, because I kind of ordered it like a hamburger and French fries, even before I got here.
It's true. Many times we create our own reality. Many times we create scenarios. I was friends with a lady once, and she always had trouble with her bosses at her jobs. Every job she went to, the boss didn't appreciate her, and she felt neglected. Okay, 1, 2, 3, but 4, 5, 6 bosses? Maybe the problem is, you. Maybe you need to look at how you're dealing with these scenarios. But also some things, there are other free wills, and sometimes, life happens. So if you're sensing a repeated pattern in your life of something, then yes, you're supposed to look at that. That can be what we call karma. It can be something that we're creating internally. Why am I always attracting the wrong person to me? There's something I'm putting out there. And then I have to start to be honest with myself. Okay, am I afraid of this? There was a really interesting story at one of the lady in our classes. She had this very specialized job, and it was in the financial area. She was really good at it. And, she could always find work because it was so specialized. There weren't many people that were doing it. But this one time she could not find work to save her life. And she couldn't figure out what the problem was. So we were in our workshop, at the Institute, unrelated to this, unrelated to work. It was on relationships. And we were talking about the power of forgiveness and letting go. And she thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to forgive my boss at this last job because we left on bad terms, So she did this prayer that we do for forgiveness, and she's a little bit clairvoyant herself. And she said, I couldn't believe how much dark light I saw around myself. I didn't realize how angry I was still at this man. And she really let it go that day. And she called us 3 days later and said, guess what? I found a job. So when you look at it energetically, you see what happens. One of the reasons she couldn't find the other job was she was still energetically at her old job. Her anger was still keeping her in the old energy, so how could the new one come into her life? So once she let it go, then everything fell back into its natural place. So yeah, we have to be very conscious that the way we project our energy has an enormous influence in our life, and even to things that maybe appear unrelated.
Dimitri, this is Sandra. I've got like a big question for you, and it's going to take like probably the next segment to answer. But one of the things that I find, and I know, thanks, Rory, we only got a couple minutes before commercial break, like people say to me all the time, like, I've been called Pollyanna. Oh, I put my head in the sand. I've been told you're not dealing with it. You have an avoidant personality. You're repressing it, all this stuff, because there's most things that, like, I could care less about. Like, I don't want to get upset. I don't want to get angry at it. I don't want to hold on to it. And, you get all these really kind of smart, educated people and well-meaning friends telling me, like, I'm not dealing with it. But, a lot of times when we experience someone else's trauma, like you will, like this is their problem, their anger, their whatever, I kind of take this thing that, like, why would I put any energy into this? Like, I don't have to answer everything. I don't have to deal with anything. I don't have to defend everything. Like, does that have to do with our aura? Or, like, is that, like, low frequency behavior? Or am I just, like, to me, it's, like, just more peaceful.
Well, it's kind of like we said earlier, you have to decide what you're going to accept or reject. And just because somebody's presenting something doesn't mean you have to accept it, even if it's a loved one. It doesn't mean you don't love them, by the way. It doesn't mean you don't care for them. But you have to stand at the door to your own consciousness and say yes or no. That's our free will in action. What did Steve Jobs say? I had to say no 1,000 times to the one thing I had to say yes to. We can't do everything in our life. We can't be everything to everybody. There's only so many hours in a day, so we're going to have to prioritize things and decide what's important, pursue those things, and the other things we have to negotiate as they come up with. But, I mean, you look at doctors, if they emotionally got engaged with every patient, especially if they were serious kids, I mean, they wouldn't be able to even make it home every day, So there has to be some kind of where maybe a lot of people are making...
Demetrius, I need to take us to commercial break.
Oh, okay.
Or Dimitri Moraitis, your book, Change Your Aura, Change Your Life. It's a step-by-step guide to unfolding your spiritual power. We're talking to him today about so many different things. I love that what you said is we have to stand at the door of our own consciousness and say yes or no. We'll be more with Dimitri after the break.
We've got lots more Powered Up with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin after these messages.
This is for all you girls about 42. Tossing pennies into the fountain of youth.
Have you heard? The pages of American Patchwork and Quilting magazine come to life on our new weekly online radio show, American Patchwork and Quilting. Join Pat Sloan, our blogging and quilt designer host, as she talks about the latest trends, ideas, and inspirations. Her guests include quilt pattern designers, authors, quilt shop owners, and our editors, all quilters, just like you. Call in with your questions. Get quilting tips from industry experts. Learn about free patterns. Hear behind-the-scenes stories from our magazines, American Patchwork and Quilting, Quilt Sampler, and Quilts and More. Get the scoop on free stuff and find out more about the best independent quilt shops in North America. To listen to a live show, tune in Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Just log on to allpeoplequilt.com/radio. To hear past shows, go to iTunes and search for American Patchwork and Quilting Radio. We hope you'll join us because we know that quilting changes everything.
In today's business world, a helping hand or idea that doesn't come with an invoice is a treasured find. And if that happens to you, then you need to pay it forward to keep other entrepreneurs from making mistakes or getting a raw deal. It's called Paying It Forward with Josephine Gerasi, Wednesday mornings at 10, 9 a.m. Central. Josephine is going to have the guests describe their accomplishments, the lessons they've learned, both good and bad, and then sharing those pieces of knowledge as we create a movement of paying it forward. For more information about Josephine, her business, and background, you can go to mymomknowsbest.com. Josephine Gerasi has always been a problem solver. She saw this need and has turned it into a movement. It's Paying It Forward with tips, tools, and advice and hard lessons learned. These pieces of knowledge can make a huge difference for you, your business, and others. So join us for Paying It Forward with Josephine Gerasi, Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
We're back with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin. Here's some more Powered Up with Beck and Franklin.
This is for all you girls.
Hey, ladies, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Linda Franklin, and the book of the hour is Change Your Aura, Change Your Life, a step-by-step guide to unfolding your spiritual power. Now, I want to be clear, neither Linda nor I were paid to promote this book. This is a book that came across us from one of the publicity houses that sends us new books to read, and this was something that's like right in my wheelhouse. And I'm interested to report to you guys, or I think it's important to say, this book has been around since 2000. You know, this is a new edition 16 years later. And when you think of like new age, spirituality, woo-woo books, a lot of them don't have a long shelf life. And that's one of the things that really intrigued me, you know, talking on the break with Dimitri, is the longevity of this book. And this book is like one of those manuals. And Linda, you like, you know, we like different books. I like manuals. I like things I can highlight and, you know, source and reference and put a little tag on and, you know, come back to it again and again. I mean, this book covers so much, from your bank account to your animals, to your kids, to your aura. I do, before we get into, like, you know, all the cool stuff in this book, I do want to go back to my original question, which was, when we were talking about energy fields, and I think so many people I run into are so angry, or they're hurt, or they're frustrated, they're really negative, Dimitri, and I have a real hard time. My natural instinct is to comfort and validate and support and help, and then I end up feeling exhausted even if I just left Walmart. How do we have a conversation with somebody and not let that energy seep in? Or provide comfort and support and not let that negative energy drag us down?
Well, that's a very good question. There's a lot of things you can do. Number one, of course, building a strong aura yourself. And let's just, I'm going to back up just a moment to bring a key point in all of this. One of the reasons we wrote the book was not only to talk about the aura, but to talk about the power of meditation. This is actually in many ways a meditation book, because there's two ways you basically change your aura. One is through every single word, thought, act, and deed. So every good thing you do, even if you're not getting patted on the back for it, is definitely adding and enlightening your aura. We've been doing that. Humanity's been doing that from the beginning of time. But you can actually work with the energies that the aura is expressing. You can draw those powers into your aura, and that can have, through meditation, and that can have a profound effect on your life. So, for example, let's say I do feel low self-confidence. Let's say I don't feel like maybe I'm supposed to, try to accomplish something, and I know it's a good idea, but I think I'll never succeed at this. I'll never be good at this. Now, in the aura, the energy of confidence is a gold light, a gold energy. So people that you think, gee, they think they can do anything, well, they probably have this gold energy in their aura, if it's, not just a self-inflated image. Well, I can call on that energy in meditation, and I can ask for that golden light. And then as I go out and start to pursue where I maybe wasn't feeling quite as confident, well, now I'm going to have a little more. And we recommend a daily meditation. It doesn't have to be long, but it should be part of your routine. It's your one-on-one time with the divine. And this starts to build a very strong energy field. So when you do have others pushing in, because you will, especially those that are sometimes aggressive themselves, they will try to, maybe not consciously, but energetically, they're trying to push in. And you do have to kind of step back. There's actually protective tools. You can ask the golden light to protect your aura so that some of these energies don't come in. And you can also realize, I can help somebody, but it doesn't mean I have to give it from my own self. I don't have to sacrifice my energies to help somebody else. I can be a channel of it for somebody, but I don't have to sort of give my own. And that's the difference from what we call sympathy and compassion. When we're sympathetic, we're kind of jumping into their arena. Compassion is we're helping them, but we're staying kind of above it. We're seeing the picture in its larger perspective.
Well, I love that because just that, like, I'm a big word person, a big wordy, like you're an aura reader. I'm like a word reader. But like just the energy around the word compassion versus sympathetic, like just shows a whole bunch of different involvement. Now,
Right.
you, thank you for that. You talk about even just the color of clothes.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
I got it. Linda and I are like chomping at the bit with this one. You gotta share with us how your book can help us with our not our fashion sense, but like our energetic fashion sense.
Right. Well, first of all, let me say we're not fashion consultants, although Barbara has worked with fashion consultants in the past. And we're not talking about, colors that match your skin tones or seasons of the year. I mean, I come from Chicago, and you tend to wear kind of dark colors. It gets very cold there, that kind of thing. I also went to school in New York, so I understand the New York mentality very well, the Manhattan
Black.
mentality. Yeah, exactly.
I live in New York, so yes, it's black.
Yeah. So, and again, these might be very chic and maybe in terms of, you look good in them, but right now I'm only speaking about what helps to enhance the auric power. That's the
Right.
only way I'm talking. So there are what we call enlightened colors in the aura, and there are unenlightened colors in the aura. So in other words, if I'm expressing love right now, I'm going to have a beautiful pink energy in my aura. It's not just a girl thing. It can be, male, female. You'll have that pink energy in your aura. We are color. If I got super angry today, I'm going to have this dirty, vitiated red in my aura, dark, almost maroon red. And that is going to be a very debilitating energy. And by the way, one strong outburst of anger, and I don't mean just a little irritation, I mean a strong one, can linger in the aura for 2 weeks. So this is how powerful energies are. So in other words, you can start to wear colors that reflect the more enlightened energies. Let's say I'm very tired right now, and physically I'm exhausted, but I have a lot to do. Wear something red. Wear something bright red, as that will help to bring, because in the aura, red is the color of vitality. Now, you tend to either wear what you feel you are, where you feel at that moment, or you can wear what you need. So, yes, if you're tired and you do wear something like a gray, that's actually not the best color to wear, because gray is the color of illness. It's
Oh,
the color
gosh.
of worry. It's the color of fear. Barbara talks about if you're persistently worried about something over, let's say, weeks or months, you can literally develop a gray cloud above your head, a spiritual gray cloud.
See, and this is so interesting to me because I'm a little bit OCD and I have my closet. I have a big walk-in closet, Dimitri, and it's all organized by color. And I don't walk in, and decide what I'm going to wear. Like, I walk in and think, like, what color feels like me today? And, like, when I was really working a lot on myself, everything was like turquoise and blue and seafoam. And then,
Well, turquoise is a great color because that's the color of prosperity in the aura.
oh,
So that's a fact. If you're worried about money or things like that, or you're doing something that requires a lot of financial, either investment or whatever, wear that turquoise, and that'll keep you in that higher state of prosperity awareness. There's a picture in the aura, an illustration of a nobility person that Barbara knew, and it was one of the most fantastic auras of prosperity that she had ever seen. And we can build that. Again, we're never stuck with an aura the way it is. We're never stuck with anything in our life the way it is. We can change. The whole point of here is to develop ourselves spiritually. That's why we're here. So, okay, here's where I am today, but I don't have to stay here. I can move. If I admire something in somebody, gee, I wish I had more of that character trait, or I wish I had that ability, or I wish I had that, whatever. That can be the beginning of something for you to create it yourself.
Well, and I like that you have pictures in here, because I'm a real picture person.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes with these spiritual books or these enlightenment books, I don't feel a whole lot enlightenment because I can't even visualize or understand what's going on. So these are really helpful. But I love that you validated my power color, or not power color, but the power of color. Because I always think, like, I look at my kids and my little ball of happy sunshine. He will pick yellow, orange, scream creamy green. Like he just loves it, and it fits him. And then I've got my thinker, who he's very much, the navy blues, and it's just interesting. Like when you start becoming aware of color.
We did a workshop on for children that were in the when we were in LA in the acting business, and these were super talented kids. I mean, one was the voice of Finding Nemo. And we were talking about, the color of talent in the aura is this electric blue, this sort of peacock blue. Well, the woman that was hosting it, she said, you know what? When they came in for the workshop the next day, 3/4 of them were wearing blue clothing. So they got it like right away. They didn't have any problem I was really surprised they were even interested in the aura, but they really hooked into it because there wasn't a lot of barriers, and they're already so creative. They just realized this was an extension of their creativity.
Well, and Linda, I'm going to go over to you. We've got 2 minutes to commercial
break.
Well,
when we come back, when we come back from break, I realize we only have a couple of minutes. I think we ought to talk about children because they are the most fascinating, and I think the children coming into the world now are, a very, very special breed, much different than when I was a baby. But we can talk about that after the break. But right now, and I don't know if you can even answer this question before the break, but what is the connection between the aura and our soul?
Oh, my God. The aura is your energetic expression of your soul.
Mm-hmm.
It's how the soul forges its spiritual metal. It's absolutely intimately linked because we are not a body. We are a soul inhabiting a body.
Yes.
And it is the aura that's giving you it's powering your soul to do all the things you need to do. So they are, the right and the left hand, working together.
Wow, I was writing that down. That is so cool. I do have to tell the listeners, because I've got a book in my hand here, you guys have to get a copy of this book because there's a whole page called The Auric Color Chart and Enlightened Colors, and it's so fascinating to go through because I was looking at this, Linda, and it totally represents kind of like how I feel about these colors without even knowing it. So the book that we're talking about today is Change Your Aura, Change Your Life, a step-by-step guide to unfolding your spiritual power. The authors are Barbara Martin and Dimitri, who's our guest today, Moraitis. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk more about about auras and children and what's going on with our pets. We'll be back again after the break.
We've got lots more Powered Up with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin after these messages.
Would you like to know how to bring more ease to all the decisions you need to make in life? Knowing your core values is the first step in Joyce's free live masterclass. You'll discover your top 5 core values in as little as 45 minutes. Join her now at freegiftfromjoyce.com.
Do you ever wonder if you're the only woman who runs errands in her yoga pants so it will look like she went to the gym? Or how about the only mom who feeds her kids raw cookie dough? Or are you the only one who cooks her family cold cereal for dinner? Do you need more laughter and less loudness? More self-love and less self-loathing? More joy and less judgment? You're not alone. Come to the living room, a place where we get comfy, candid, and confident together. Come seeking sanctuary and leave feeling renewed. We're saving a seat for you. Give yourself some living room today.
We're back with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin. Here's more Powered Up with Beck and Franklin.
Hey, ladies, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Linda Franklin, and this is Powered Up Talk Radio. I almost missed the intro because I was so fascinated with this auric color chart. That's like going to be my new go-to. I'm going to have to rip it out of this book and stick it on my wall. That's how cool I think it is. The book we're talking about today, Change Your Aura, Change Your Life, a step-by-step guide to unfolding your spiritual power, Barbara Martin and Dimitri Moraitis. This book has been around for 16 years. You want to get your hot little hands on a new copy. Because it is a great, great definitive resource guide for just about anything. And we're going to move over to kids and dogs because I know I'm all about the kids, and Linda and I both are all about the dogs. Pets have auras, true or false?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And by the way, pets, have souls too. And they're on an evolutionary path just like we are. So when you love your animal, it's not just about pets and hugs. You are actually helping that animal soul evolve. That they're like spiritual sponges. They will pick up the energy, and this is in a good way, and they will absorb it, and it helps them in their own evolutionary flow. By the way, they can also absorb negative energy. So let's say if there was somebody very sick or very angry in the house, they can unintentionally pick up that energy because they are these spiritual sponges. And you want to ask the light to go to them too, the purifying ray to release them of that. But we have a responsibility to care for animals because it's a spiritual responsibility to treat them well, to take care of them because of this evolutionary process that's going on. So yeah, I love animals myself. They're wonderful, and they really respond to the light. They also live, in a way, in some ways, they live almost closer to their spiritual nature than we do. Because now, I will say this, their auras are much simpler. They're not as involved as ours are because they're not on the same evolutionary scale as the human. But they can have radiant auras, too. And they, by the way, there's more advanced ones and less advanced ones, too, depending on how they've been evolving, how they've been growing.
Do they reincarnate as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And you know what they'll also do is they will wait for you on the other side.
Oh,
so
I'm hoping.
Oh, no. If you had a dog and let's say you took care of him for 16 years and it was a loving relationship, they'll wait for you. And when it's your time to go home, they'll be there to greet you.
Oh, I'm going to have a pack. One time, I live on a horse ranch. I've had probably 12 dogs or something like that. And they're all, like when people would say, dogs don't have souls and dogs don't have feelings, I'm like, you're an idiot. Anybody who's ever loved an animal and been with them, the day before Misty died, she was my closest to my soulmate dog you could have. Mm-hmm. She was in liver, kidney, and heart failure, and I was taking her to be put down in the morning, and I couldn't sleep all night, and I laid with her. She put her nose next to mine because I was crying. I was like crying, and she went like, ooh, ooh, and I know she was crying too in her own way and telling me like, it'll be okay. We're going through this together. And anybody who's ever had a relationship like that with an animal, it's just the most beautiful thing.
Yeah, well,
and they're great teachers.
Oh, they are. And to remember that, first of all, with animals, they understand the transition process. It's a natural. They don't have the hang-ups that we humans. It's not like Woody Allen's line. I'm not afraid of dying. I just don't want to be there when it happens. Kind of thing,
Yeah, it's a great line.
Yeah. But and also whether it's human or animal, no love is ever lost. This is the beauty because life is eternal. We're going through this experience on Earth, but it's going to continue in other dimensions. And if there is a real love bond, that love will find itself again somewhere down the line. So yeah, it's goodbye for now. It's, a bientôt, but it's not au revoir.
Yes, we love that. So
well,
I just want to ask one really quick question. It's a yes or no. Do you have to be near the person to see their aura, or can you remote view an aura?
Well, it's much better when you're closer. I mean, someone like Barbara can do it at a distance because she's so well trained at it. What many people don't realize is it's one thing to be able to see the energies. It's another thing to be trained in them. Barbara started seeing auras at age 3 years old. Imagine what you were at 3 and all of a sudden seeing these. She didn't know what they meant, interestingly enough. And talk about the color chart. She was 11 years old, and she was actually in a theater acting company. And the teacher called her in privately one Saturday and basically said, "You can see the aura, can't you?" And little Barbara goes, "Is that what it's called?" She didn't even have a name for it. And she said, "I'm a Hermetic scientist. My mother and grandmother are both Hermetic scientists, which is one of the most ancient mystical arts. I see auras too, and I want to teach you." And that's where she started teaching him how to interpret how emerald green means balance, how silver means intelligence. So now she could decipher what she was seeing. So obviously when you're close to the person, the energy field is much stronger. I mean, there's a much more contact, but if you have the skill, you can definitely do it at a distance. Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious. Like, you have to be near the person, or, like you think of psychics who do readings, and, I'm still fairly new to a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. Now the psychic is a different skill. You're using different apparatus than seeing the auras there. Yeah, you can. Well, there's energy in things. So if I'm holding something that's yours, I can start to tune into your energy, and so if I'm skilled at that, I can start to pick up things about you. I mean, a lot of people have been asking about the presidential candidates and see their auras, and and to a certain degree you can actually, there's some interesting energies going on with the candidates right now. But obviously, when let's say Barbara does her full aura readings, it could be done in phone, but it's especially good in person. Yeah.
No, I might have to come down and see you guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Dimitri, are you ever surprised? Do you ever have, you've known somebody or you have an opinion of somebody, and then you see their aura and you say, "Oh my goodness, what's going on?" Because that isn't what I thought it was.
Well, it's true. We can put on a front. I mean, we can. What's so beautiful about the aura is the aura doesn't lie. We can fudge with each other. We can even fudge with ourselves. Interestingly enough, the energy of self-deceit is sort of this avocado green mixed in with a gray energy. So we can think we're something that we're not, and we've literally convinced ourselves of this. There's a self-deception, but the aura itself doesn't lie. And, the challenge is sometimes you're not seeing the best colors around somebody that you may like, but the point is that's a temporary situation. We're an immortal spark of life, and that life is inherently good. So if there are dark spots in the aura, these are temporary things while the soul is working through something. So when we notice maybe imperfections in ourselves, we just have to say, this is what I have to work on, not this is what I am. When we start to identify with our weaknesses, then we trap ourselves in them. Yeah. Now with children, I know our time is running out. That's a whole subject. Now, there's an old expression, give me the first 7 years of a person's life and you can have the rest. There is a lot of foundational energies that are established, just like a little child is growing physically. The auric energies engage slowly over time. They don't come in all at once. So the first 7 years are extremely crucial energetically, because the aura is extremely pliable, extremely suggestible at that time, because the soul has to learn so many things, it has to learn how to adapt. And so at that point, basic patterns are established, and the next big monumental moment is actually 12 years old. More of the higher energies come in at that time, and actually from the point of view of the aura, the full aura is engaged at 16. At that point, at least spiritually speaking, you're an adult. You're fully responsible for your own actions, and karmically. And from there on, it's, again, your own flow as you're building. But as we see, it takes a while to get to that point. So helping the children grow, and especially as you're mentioning, they just seem to be smarter and smarter and more aware coming in now. It means we really have to give them their space to learn and grow, to encourage them, to let them be themselves. Sometimes parents try to mold children in their own image rather than maybe who the child actually really is. And if it's needed, you have to train them or discipline, because you want to make sure if they're bad habits that you're doing your part to alleviate them so that doesn't become a problem later on.
It's so much to know, how, like, I guess, well, this is just, that's a dumb question. I was thinking, like, how do you know when your kids get up in the morning? Like, how do you get a good look at their aura, especially when they're teenagers? I've got one, who's hitting that hormonal stage, the preteen into teen. And, sometimes, it's like he's gone wacko. But does what affects our aura? Like our thoughts, our emotions,
all of it,
health, and
all of it, every single bit of it. That's what you're thinking, what you're feeling. All of it is affecting the aura, and you just have to be straight with your children. You have to be open and honest, and let's say the 12-year-old. It's a he. Is this your son? You said, yeah. If it's possible, introduce him to some meditation techniques. So he has some balance, help him to understand. I think you do have to stay on top of your kids now because there are just so many ways to go off track so fast that you have to let them really be aware of what's out there, and so that they're, they don't get caught up in something that maybe is not the best thing. They have to go through their own stuff, but at the same time, you're still, this is a very crucial stage now. You're helping your son through. So, by the way, you can even ask the light to go to others from higher to higher. Ask the wisdom to go to your son, the intelligence. You pray for your children to help them see the light for themselves, and those prayers are heard. They are not like just wishful thinking.
Dimitri, I think your book is outstanding. You and Barbara have done an amazing job. I can see why it's a bestseller. It's definitely one of those books that I think everybody should have in their archives. There's so much in here. I just want to take a minute here and I want to read some of the, the table of contents. It's like you get into your spiritual bank account, the anatomy of the aura, the colors you are. Then you talk about 3 keys to working with spiritual energy, 6 steps to change your aura, tapping into power rays, how to change mental and emotion states, transformational meditations, strengthening relationships. There's dating, there's children, there's fashion and color. I mean, there's 300 pages of goodness in here. And I really thank you for putting this together. And I recommend anybody who has a spiritual library to grab yourself a copy, if nothing less than to get that color chart.
Well, that is very important.
It is. The book today, Change Your Aura, Change Your Life, a step-by-step guide to unfolding your spiritual power. Partners Barbara Martin and Dimitri Moraitis. They are both part of the Spiritual Arts Institute. You guys are going to want to check that out. For Linda Franklin and Sandra Beck, this is Powered Up Talk Radio. We'll be back again next week.
We're so glad you joined us for Powered Up with Beck and Franklin. Sandra Beck, Los Angeles-based single mother and technology company owner, knows what it's like to be fit, funny, and fantastic in your 40s. Linda Franklin, a New Yorker with a successful marriage and